Welcome to Real Estate Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters, sharing proven strategies to help you build a better business today. And here is your host, Keith Doherty.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is real estate agent Pat Carleton of Russ, Lyon, Sotheby's International Realty out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Pat's professional life started at the National Capital Planning Commission in the early 1970s in Washington, D.C. as the head of their new Environmental Affairs Office, while she was also attending Georgetown Law School at night and receiving her J.D. After having attained her master's degree in both urban planning at the University of Cincinnati and anthropology at New York University. After 7 years there, where she was named Employee of the Year, she decided to start using her new law degree and began a small law firm specializing in real estate, which had always been a passion. And during 8 years of practice, she began developing and converting apartments into hundreds of cooperative units, which with her partner, she renovated and sold or rented. It was an all-consuming 20 years in Washington, and when she decided to retire to Arizona, it only lasted about 3 weeks. She couldn't stay away from real estate, and she obtained her real estate license in 1994. She has founded and stayed with venerable real estate company Russ Lyon, which is now Russ Lyon Sotheby's International Realty, for the last 22 years, fully involved in the ever-changing and exciting world of Arizona real estate and receiving many company annual awards for outstanding production and using the experience and background of every one of her degrees in dealing with a variety of people wanting a variety of properties. Each day is different, and she finds that she is still excited to tackle the challenges that new clients bring. So with all that, Pat, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Keith. Appreciate it.
Quite a long history there. Wow, you've been a long time in the real estate industry.
You bet, and the passion has not dulled.
So you kind of covered it a little bit, or I guess we did in the intro, but I guess maybe if we could start though, what kind of really drew you to real estate? You know, we kind of got a little bit in your background, but what really was it? Was it something you always wanted to do, or did you kind of happen into it as your career developed?
You know, it's a good question. I can't remember when I wasn't interested in properties, in values, and, of course, the people that go with them. I think even when I was a government employee way back in the 70s, I had gotten my real estate license then and loved it. Washington is a very challenging place to sell real estate, but when you have a law degree, they let you have your license without getting taking tests and things like that. I guess they thought attorneys were special people or something. Anyway, I've always loved putting people and properties together.
Yeah, so I guess the transition was kind of, pretty easy for you, like you said, with having a law degree. You didn't have to go through the exact process that a regular agent would be, I'm guessing, because you already had that, that law background and understood all the laws and how they worked when it came to real estate.
And when I started practicing law, it was real estate that was my specialty.
Excellent.
So it was a nice segue.
Yeah, absolutely. So what personal attributes or traits or qualities do you think have most contributed to the success you've had, and how do you think you developed those along the years?
Well, I would say that since my favorite dog is a bulldog, and I have a French bulldog, it's relentlessness. It's just never giving up. It's finding a barrier or an obstacle and getting through it one way or another. And it's just a good trait to live your life by. And I found that more than anything else, helped me in the conversion of the units in the early days in Washington, D.C. in the 80s. Because to convert a building in Washington, D.C., you had to have 51% of the tenants vote yes. And believe me, there were lots of tenants that did not want any change, did not want to be missed or displaced, and really found lots of ways to put obstacles in my path. You just had to keep trying, and I really cut my teeth on real estate in Washington, D.C. by being relentless.
Yeah, it sounds like, like you said, what you were up against wasn't a normal, a thing when with most agents. Obviously, you were dealing it from the law standpoint, and trying to convert these buildings and convince a lot of people to move things over. So I think it's pretty impressive that you had these huge obstacles, but like you said, you took that attitude of, hey, I'm going to be like the bulldog, and I'm gonna get through it. I'm keep fighting and make it happen.
And I did 13 buildings in the space of 13 years, one a year.
Wow. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was going to ask next about, if you could give a specific example, but I think you pretty much did there, where you said you had 13 buildings over 13 years. I mean, that speaks pretty volumes of what it took.
Yeah, I overcame bad press, graffiti, vandalism, threats, but, besides the relentlessness, I think it just honed my sensibilities in dealing with people, and that's where anthropology and the study of people really helped me. Not so much the master's degree, but just the studies of different people, different attitudes, different agendas. It really helped me relate, and I think that was a large part of the success, giving people what they wanted in a variety of situations that made sense to them.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that like you said, your education played a huge role because of all the different, like you said, there's different personalities that come into these deals. It wasn't just, yes. It's not like a one-on-one real estate transaction or maybe
no.
one-on, with a couple or, two people. You had these big, huge buildings full of many different personalities that you had to try to persuade and convince and move down a path of betterment and conversion. So I think that's pretty impressive that and I think, like you said, your training really helped you get by that. And then to deal with all the negative, like you said, the threats and the graffiti and all that. So not only did you have to convince the people, then you have to deal with all the outside noise that came along with that.
Oh, you bet. You bet. And then once you did get a conversion, then you renovated and sold the units. And that was another whole phase. So that was fun. That was fun.
Wow. So these are taking, like, it sounds like, because I'm based here in Florida, so it sounds like what they've done here a lot of times, they'll take an apartment and they'll turn them into like condos. So yes. Is that like what it is, like a co-op type situation? So they're self-owned units.
Co-ops have financing in place, and the buildings had their financing already. And if you converted to condos, the financing didn't work as well. So what we did was, with a co-op, with a one mortgage on the whole building, each time you sold a unit, part of that mortgage would be assumed by the new buyer.
Oh, wow.
So that's how it works.
That sounds like a better way to facilitate it than one-off units. I mean, it sounds like it makes it easier to.
Yeah, we actually started the co-op. I called it the co-op craze back in the 80s, and It was just a matter of timing and opportunity. It was a wonderful time in my life.
Excellent. So obviously you've kind of mentioned a few here, but what are some other major adversities and trials that you've had to overcome? When else have you got to put on that bulldog face and say, okay, Pat's coming through, watch out, she's going to get things done in order to get to achieve her goals? Well,
believe me, I think in those years, raising a daughter, being very involved in her schooling, private schooling in Washington, D.C., running a household, and running a law firm on a daily basis, dealing with clients, that kept me pretty busy. I wouldn't consider them obstacles, but just a very full, exacting, stressful life. And I had to balance. I had to balance all of that.
Yeah, I could see how that could be, like you said, you had all these, the issues come up with the conversions and all the noise from that, and then you stack in, like you said, running the law firm, taking care of your child and keeping care of the household. It's like, yeah, that's a full plate that could overwhelm a lot of people.
Women can and have done it all. I'm living proof.
Yeah. So you've kind of, alluded to this, but, what kept you going, So these obstacles came up, the graffiti came up, the attitudes came up, and obviously you kind of have that, don't quit attitude, but, why wouldn't you give up? Why did you always keep moving forward? What kept you going?
I love to win. Once I start something, I finish it. And I will finish it one way or another. It's just early as a child, I was very competitive. I wanted to get to college, and I knew the only way I could get there was to get a full ride scholarship. So my focus as a young child and as a teenager was graduating first in my class as valedictorian at Oyster Bay High School. And I think, once I saw that if I put enough effort in, I could make anything I wanted to do happen, it just became my mantra. And articles, negative articles about me in the paper, the co-op queen, nicknames that were not very nice. I think, I had to balance dealing with the people that I was making a difference in their lives. And I guess just recognizing that it wouldn't be easy. I just got myself down and dirty and made it happen. Believe me, it wasn't easy.
No, I can't imagine it would be, and I think one of the things you said there, I think is important to point out to our listeners is that you had a goal in mind, and it sounds like you've always did different stages in your life. Like you said, when you're younger, your goal was, okay, I need to go to college, and the way to do that is I have to put my head down and I have to get good grades in order to get the scholarship. And you always believed in it, and you kept your eye on the goal, and you dug in and you made it happen. Same thing when you moved on to, okay, now I'm going to go into these co-ops. Put my head down. I had the end in mind. There was always a goal, and you just kept moving forward, believing that there was no other option but to get to the finish line.
That's right. And I say that I've become a mentor at my realty firm, and I speak a lot to young women starting out, and without being overwhelming or overbearing, that message of, if you want something badly enough, go for it. Find a way without alienating people. Keep your eye on the ball and your focus on your goals, and you can do it. I have to tell my daughter that a lot of times. She forgets, but yes, I find it very enriching now at my stage in life to help others, help other young women do what I did.
Yeah, I think that's great that you reach out and you can speak to them from experience, and they can look back on your success and what you've achieved up until this point, and you can use obviously all those examples and say, here's what I was facing and here's how I did it, and try to empower them with that same desire and mindset, because that's what it comes down to. You had the mindset that you could do whatever you want, and I still remember back when I was young, my mother always said, you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. I mean, it's so simple.
It sounds simple, right, but it isn't. It is the basis for a very fulfilling life.
Absolutely. So moving forward, obviously you've 20 years in Washington, 22 years in Arizona real estate. I mean, what do you kind of see looking forward? What's your vision as you move into, say, the next 5 years? What are you looking to do? Is there any other big goals that the Bulldog's going to push through and go after, or are you kind of coasting along and just kind of going with things now?
You know, every day in real estate, with dealing with different people and being involved in my firm, I still do floor time. I still love meeting new people. To me, it's never grown old. And so I consider myself extremely fortunate to have a very day, a very week, the unpredictability of what people ask for, what they expect, still hurdles. You know, you'll still get people that are unreasonable, are self-centered, are difficult, just difficult personalities to deal with. And you just, you just adjust. You try to adjust and be very attentive. I found throughout my career, even though law school teaches you to pounce first and ask questions later, it's being a good listener that makes you a good realtor. Listening, taking notes, caring about what each person or couple finds is what's important to them. Listening. It's a very simple thing, but it's hard for a lot of people to do. Be quiet, listen, ask the right questions, and, after 40-plus years, you get to be very sensitive to other people's requests and important things. And so I guess what drives me is the fact that I wake up and every day's new. And I have no intention of retiring. I would imagine that since now I do a lot of my business through referrals from old clients, it's a full day to keep in touch with the old, welcome the new, and see what's out there. There's always something to learn, too. A different neighborhood, perhaps, that I haven't been accustomed to working in. I go from downtown Phoenix to Carefree and Cave Creek, way up north. Phoenix is a huge metropolitan area, the 5th largest now. And believe me, I'm busy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you first started talking, you talked about like working the floor and things and still meeting new people, and you could just even hear it in your voice, the excitement and the passion you still have for, like you said, just a new challenge. It's like I can hear that competitive nature, and you just say, all right, where's the next game? Where's the next event? Where's the next challenge that I can overcome?
You're absolutely right.
And I think the other thing you pointed out that's key to highlight is the listening. And I think not only listening, which you talk about doing, but I think people really need to listen and they really need to hear. Because I think there's a huge difference between, okay, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to wait for them to talk. To really listen and to hear and absorb what they really need so that you can then turn around and say, okay, here's how I can help them. And I think that's obviously what you've done and what you do, and you can, bring in all that experience that you've had so you can give them the proper solution that's what they need.
And, personal service today is one of the last great luxuries, as is privacy. If you make an effort and people see the passion and they see the willingness to put aside your other thoughts, your other requirements during the day and sit and listen, and not only listen but take notes. My notebook is always with me. I find if I write it down, it somehow gets absorbed in a more efficient way, and that's my style, and that's my approach.
Yeah, I agree. I try to have a notebook, like I have one on my nightstand. I try to carry one on my, because I'll wake up like with a dream, and I have dreams where I've had like meetings with people or a situation, and I'm like, I write it down without thinking about it, because at some point, sometimes that information is useful, or I come up with an idea, or it's amazing the way your brain works too. And like you said with the ideas, I do the same thing. I always try to have a notebook somewhere that if something pops in my head, just make a note of it, and at some point it may make itself a lot clearer as to what that thought was or where it was manifesting from. So obviously you said, with 22 years in real estate, you get a lot of your business from referrals, but do you do anything, actively to market yourself, to grow or to expand your real estate profession?
I find that I am pretty busy, and I do have a partner from time to time, a young partner that I'm mentoring at the firm. And between that and working for buyers, I'm not such a big Facebook person. I belong to organizations like LinkedIn, but I don't have a lot of time to devote to social networking or networking groups or meetings or happy hours. I'm so busy with a full day each day. My company does a great job of marketing us with our own websites, and occasionally I will get a call from my Russ Lyon website, patcarleton.com. But floor keeps me pretty busy, and that's a great way to market myself, because if I do get a new opportunity, I would say 8 out of 10 calls that I get are calls that stick with me, that follow up, that I follow up with, and become new clients. So that's kind of how it rolls for me.
That's a pretty good close rate, 80%.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. But I think it goes back to, like you said, you've never once mentioned being a salesperson. You never once mentioned using, all the tactics that are out there. And obviously you understand psychology and human nature, but at the end of the day, like you said, you listen and you understand, and then people obviously, connect with you, and you build that relationship, and you're able to help them.
And it may sound a bit old-fashioned not to be on all of these websites and have be a Zillow agent and all that. Just not my style. I feel the old-fashioned listen, learn, and do the best you can to help each and every person, one client at a time, works for me. And I think it works for my clients because I get a lot of referrals back.
Yeah, that speaks volumes right there in its own right. So obviously, I think that there tends to be sometimes misconceptions or myths about, real estate agents. So what do you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with a real estate agent?
The biggest misconception is that we all care only about getting a commission and getting a deal done as quickly as possible without putting the work in. And, that's been an enduring misconception through all the years I've been involved in real estate. And, of course, I do my best, and I think I've done a pretty good job of it, trying to dispel that, because the last thing that I think about is commission. My first job is to listen, learn, ask questions that will steer me in the right direction for each client. And you know what? If I get a deal that goes down, I'm busy till the very day we close, answering questions, allowing people in, meeting them at the house, getting them additional information if they're new to Arizona, where you can find things, where you can get good deals. Believe me, it's busy. There's a lot more to do than think about a commission or focus on it. And I really find that my biggest pet peeve is having to work with agents that still put that as tops on their list. And there are a few. Not many, though.
No, with the real estate professionals we've interviewed on this show, and the listeners obviously know from past interviews that I think the most successful professionals kind of say what you just said. It's all the common thread of listening and learning and helping. Not, oh, what's my, they're not in the back room like, oh, they're looking at this kind of house or their house is worth this, here's my commission. They're not, that doesn't even come into play. Not one,
Nope.
Nobody has ever said money or commission or anything. That is a byproduct of your work and what you do to help. And it comes in, obviously, the more you help and the more you do things for other people, the more you're going to make, and that's just a byproduct. But that, I think when that becomes the focus, that people tend to do things that might not be appropriate for the client, and I think that's it
And
speaks
clients
volumes
can sense it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if a deal isn't appropriate and it's not, to push it through for that commission, it's not the right thing to do.
Oh,
you have to
gosh.
act in the best interest of
No, I could
your
never
client.
do it. I couldn't live with myself if I did that or was that kind of an agent. And luckily, our profession is, I must say, by and large, people are caring about the people they work with, the agents, and but that's my pet peeve.
Yeah. So this is kind of a hypothetical question I like to ask to kind of get to some feedback. But let's say you get a call from a family member. Let's say you happen to have some family still on the East Coast, maybe Washington, New York area. They call you up and say, Pat, we finally had it. We're sick of the cold weather, and we're moving out. We're coming out to Arizona, but we need to sell our house here. Now, obviously, you could, check people out and potentially do a referral on that. But in general, though, what advice would you give them to help them select an agent that would take care of their needs, to kind of serve them like you do your clients? What kind of things would you tell them to look for and to select that right agent?
That's a very good question. I've not been asked that. But I would think that, first of all, a lot of people come with an agent already picked out. But in the rare instances that they don't, we have and this has been very useful. If I don't know someone in that particular city, after all these years, I've worked with a few agents all around the country, I do get a great deal of support from Russ, Lyon, Sotheby, because it is international, because it is so widespread and has such a fabulous network of referrals within the company. I try to find someone, an agent in whatever city, in the Russ Lyon network, that I can talk to first before I recommend them. And so I take the time to interview, and sometimes it's more than one, sometimes it's a couple, to see what the best fit would be. And then I recommend them, and I keep checking on how that's going. It's not just this side of the what should I say, the deal. It's both sides have to work. So that's usually how I work that.
Great, yeah. And so let's say someone wants to come to your part, I guess Phoenix, Scottsdale area, and they need an agent in that area. What's the best way they can get more information about you and how you can help them?
Oh, well, I'm always on my email, and I'm always on my cell. So those are the two very best ways for direct contact with me. My email, of course, Pat Carleton, at russlyon.com, and my cell phone. Do you want me to give it to you over the air, or do you?
If you'd like it out there, that's fine, and we can post it below the interview for you. So yes, if you'd like to give it out to people, you can go ahead and do that.
602-885-2404.
Excellent. I made a note of that here. And so, obviously, Pat, I want to take the time to thank you personally for taking time out of your schedule. I know that, like you said, you're extremely busy with taking care of your existing clients and new clients, and I wanted to thank you for coming here today and sharing your business experience with our listeners. And obviously, if you're listening here today and you want to learn more about Pat, we're going to have links below to her site, as well as any of her contact information, her phone number and possible email address. And by all means, definitely reach out if you're in need of real estate services in the Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona area. So with that said, Pat, thank you again. We really appreciate you coming on the show with us here today.
I'm very honored to do so, and thank you very much.
All right, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for listening to Real Estate Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading real estate industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at realestateinnovatorsradio.com today.